Board of Education, November 19, 2019, regular meeting. I'd like to welcome everyone for being here tonight and joining us here. At this time, we'll stand for a moment of silence and then the pledge. Now the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number one, board members, just review the agenda if there's any additions or modifications you want to make.
The only comment I had is, I had one follow-up question about the financial report, since it's way down at the end. I didn't know if I could maybe ask that question at the beginning, because, or somewhere towards this, somewhere before Ms. Ellis might be.
Was it dealing with just the item, or you want to change the item?
Well, I just had a follow-up question regarding the classification of the item.
I guess, yeah, we're fine, just ask the question, I guess, if you have one.
Okay.
I mean, we're not taking, since the agenda's not approved, we're not doing any action or anything like that right now, but I don't know
No,
exactly
that's
the
the
nature of your question.
That was the only question I had, is just simply to move up the ability to ask a question about item 30 earlier in the agenda.
And you just
You
wanted to
just say
do,
before she leaves. you're afraid
Yeah,
she'll
just
leave.
before she leaves, yeah, we
She'll be here.
we can hold off until she's getting ready to leave.
don't leave.
And she might get up and leave right now.
I'll stay
She's
till
here.
the bitter end.
All right.
Oh, no, don't do that.
Hopefully it's not bitter right there. So she's gonna be here, so we're,
Okay, that's all good.
okay,
It's a minor question there, yeah.
okay. So if there are no modifications or changes, then I'll ask for approval of the agenda. For adoption of the agenda, sorry.
Make motion to adopt the agenda.
Motion by Mr. Talby,
I'll second it.
second by Mr. Heisel. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Actually, since you don't talk very well down there, you just wave if you want something different that way.
Okay.
Item number 3, approval of minutes for the October 15, 2019 regular meeting, October 24th, 2019 special meeting, and October 29, 2019 student achievement reports meeting. Any changes or modifications to any minutes or questions about it? If not, I will ask for a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Heisel. I'll go ahead and second it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, student staff recognition. I think we've got a
Yeah,
couple
this evening we
items.
have some recognitions to do. We have a student and a staff member. We'll do our students first. Each year, here at Central Office, we sponsor the Superintendent's Veterans Day Art Contest. And on the table in front of you, you see the winners from each of the schools. I'd like to recognize each of those winners, and we'll talk about our overall district winner here after that. At Justice, the young man was Michael Halen White. His piece, that's right there on the corner, this piece here, and the others, I don't know which ones are which. I just know this is a preschooler, and this picture depicts his dad, who is an active military right now. That's his dad in the service.
Preschooler did that.
Yes,
That's
preschool.
amazing.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I don't know which ones are which after that, so.
Well, you got names, don't you?
Yes, for Justice Elementary is Sarah K. Henderson. She's a 4th grader. That's Savannah White moves, I like it. At Shearer Elementary, Nicole Santillion. She's a kindergartner. At Strode Elementary is Destiny Lorenz,
Did I show
who is
you
a
that last one?
4th grader.
No, you didn't show us the one before either.
Yeah, well,
Closer.
I had to face the camera.
Mrs. Strode, this is Destiny Lorenz. She's a 4th grade student. And at Baker is Jordan Wines, a 5th grade student. And Abby Horn is an RDC student, a 7th grade student at RDC. Our overall district winner this year is an 11th grader at GRC. It's Miss Kelsey Grissom, and she's with us tonight. Kelsey, if you'd come up front, please. We have a certificate. And we will, for a while, we'd like the permission to put it in the hallways here so that everybody that comes into the board office and the board room here will be able to see this. We appreciate it.
We did put it up on the screen.
Yeah, it's up, yeah, that's their picture up on the screen there, but that you see it also framed there. And that'll hang in the hallways to go along with our other winners out here.
It's very nice.
So congratulations again. We have one staff member I'd like to recognize tonight, Miss Scarlett Ryan. Scarlett recently completed at the CASA School for Human Resources Leadership Program. It's a leadership program. It's a year-long 4-session series of professional learning events designed to provide in-depth training and networking around an extensive list of legal and policy-based personnel topics. Each module focuses on issues, laws, policies, and HR's best practices that school administrators address on a regular basis. And the Lord only knows how much we lean on those things. So, and after it was over, she even had to take a written exam and passed it with flying colors. So, all right. This just kind of goes to show that Scarlett, she does value her own professional growth, and she's dedicated to continuing to grow and be of tremendous assistance to me and all the principals and everybody else in this district. So we appreciate Scarlett. Thank you.
I'll vouch for her too, as a very good teacher. Public comments. All right, under Student Support Services, item number 4, consider acknowledgement of the 2018-2019 financial audit report.
Good evening, everyone. You should have gotten a bound copy of the report tonight, but also there was a PDF copy in your board packet for you to review prior to the meeting. Mr. Tom Sparks, our head auditor, is here. He's going to do a brief overview real quick, and then any questions that you all may have for him, he'd be happy to entertain.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Tom Sparks with Summers, McCray & Sparks. I want to thank you all for allowing our firm to do your audit again this year. As Alicia said, I'll just hit the highlights, but if there's anything I don't touch, please ask me and I will go through it. On page 2, at the bottom of the page is our opinion on the financial statements. We issued an unqualified opinion, which is a clean report. The next part of the audit is the MD&A, which is part of management and the financial statements that are put together. It highlights the total changes between this year and last year. You all continue to have a strong financial position, which is evidenced on page 5. It shows there's a surplus of about $745,000 over the prior year. Your next set of financial statements are your fund-wide financial statements. General fund, special revenue, and your food service. Food service continues to do very well. I know you all have made some changes with the type of programs you're having, but it seems to be doing well for the district. The fiduciary funds, which is the school activity funds, is on page 21. Detail of all those is back on page 77. And this is just highlighting of each of the schools and how they ended up for the year, either surplus or a deficit. Of course, they're not allowed to have deficits, and we're glad to say that none of your district, none of your activity funds had a deficit. The notes to the financial statements starts on page 22 and goes all the way to page 65. There are a few things I wanted to point out to you. On page 35, note number 4, you'll continue to see increases with as much construction as you had on the GRC Athletic and the field house. That continues to be ongoing. So that's your increase in the construction in progress. If you'll turn to page 37 through 39, this is a recap of all of the financial statement bonds and KISTA leases. You did have a new bond this year of $3 million, and I think that also went for the field house and phase 3 of that project. Of course, what dominates your financial statements on any district in the state is the pension and the OPEB, and footnote 7 and footnote 8 are just continuing all the required documentation for standards, plus all this information comes from the state's actuaries and their auditors, and we take that information and put it in your financial statements. And on page 54, page 44 is a recap of where you stand with your CERS on the pension. And then on page, on page 54 is where you stand on your OPEB liabilities. There again, they continue to go up each and every year. There's nothing you all really can do about it, but to continue to participate as you're required to do by the state participation amounts for the employees and the employer. I'm happy to say that we have found no state level findings this year, which is good, and we had no federal level findings this year. We are required to test a federal program each year, and had no findings there. On the management comment side, which starts on page 90, runs through page 98, we had several comments, some at George Rogers Clark. There were 7 comments there. We had 3 comments at Justice and 1 at Baker. I'm glad to say that of our prior year comments, all of them were cleared except 1. You had 1 repeat comment, and that was at Justice. And that's located on pages 96 and 98. That is a very quick overview of a large document, but I will go through anything in more detail as you want or would like.
Board member questions, comments?
In regards to the school activity funds,
Yes.
how deep or how aggressive do you audit those funds for each school?
So we sample, and we don't test every single transaction. So at the high school and your middle schools, we do detailed samples of the amount of cash disbursements and cash receipts that take place in the schools. At the elementary schools, there's not as much activity, so the sampling is not as great. We do more analytical testing at the elementary schools. When we do our samples, we do everything in accordance to the Red Book. So if the Red Book says they can do it, we'll check it for that. But to answer your question, we sample cash receipts and cash disbursements depending on the level. When we assess our risk factors, I mean, it could be up to 40 to 50 sample items, depending on how many checks may have been written down or just deposits that may have been made.
Do you sample more at the high school since there's more
Yes.
transaction at the high school?
Yes. At the high school and middle school, there's more testing done there than at the elementary school. There's just not as much activity there.
Okay, thank you.
I had a couple questions on the independent auditor's report under auditor's responsibility. I was comparing it to last year, and there was a whole section in terms of an area that was, I guess it was added. That I'm looking at it correctly. That starts out and the standards applicable to financial audits contained in the governmental auditing standards. Is that a new thing that was added this year?
Yeah, every year, the Auditing Standards Board will change or add what they want to put in the independent audit. It's kind of a boilerplate type thing, and that's what dictates what you have to put in.
Okay. Let's see, in reviewing what I've seen in other districts, did you all, as part of your testing, do testing on expenditures to make sure that the expenditures on the way they went about it comply with model procurement laws? That's part of your all's routine testing, isn't it?
Yes, so as we sample at the high school and in middle schools, we also do a more in-depth testing on a sample basis of both cash disbursements, payroll, and cash receipts at the board level. So depending upon the sample size or the population of the number of checks written during the year, payroll checks during the year, and number of cash receipts, we will do a sample there, and then we test for compliance. As far as, was there a purchase order issued, was a purchase order approved, was the check signed by the appropriate people, was it recorded in the proper line item per the budget, was it tested for, if it was a required expenditure that had to be bid, we go back to the board minutes to see if that was presented, as an item brought before the board to be, bid out. So yes, all that is tested in our cash disbursements test.
And I suppose it's all fine and dandy, otherwise there would have been a notice.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. We had no findings at the board level for any cash disbursements.
Great, great. Do you all do an exit conference when you're done with?
We do normally. This year it was more of a verbal exit conference that we had with Alicia, but it wasn't as formal as we've done in the past. Which normally we'll set up a time to come by, meet with Mr. Christie and Alicia, sit down, go through the audit, and see if there's anything that they have questions about. This year we did more electronically than an actual physical.
I suspect it was so good you just didn't need to do a formal conference.
No, just transition of timing of trying to get these out the door really hindered our getting that timely done.
Okay.
Quite honestly.
I can't remember, are we as board members supposed to get a document saying we have no conflict, and is there a fraud questionnaire that we're supposed to get?
There's a nepotism letter that we did issue to the board and it was signed by everything. Now, on the fraud questionnaires, we select one board member a
Okay.
year. So it's not like everybody gets it. So we try to rotate that. I can't remember who we chose this year.
But I was just going over
But,
the,
yeah, Mr. Paragon. Okay.
I know that because Alicia had to keep reminding me
Yeah,
to.
we usually pick one board member. We always do the superintendent, we do your finance officer, and then typically we may do one other employee at the board level.
last question. Just curious, do you all get a direct export out of Munis, or do you have to actually come in and get records? How does that work of getting the records into your all's computers?
No, we don't get direct, your all's information. No, all that information is here at the district level. So what we do is, we will access, after we send and get, like the population of number of checks, number written, and then we access, once we get on site, your Munis reports that may support, as far as cash disbursements, payroll tests, cash receipts, federal programs, state level programs. But no, we don't have direct access to Munis at the state level.
You all do all that here?
That's correct.
On our side of the network?
That's correct.
Okay.
They're spread out around this table for about a week.
Yeah,
It's a
we'll
fun
bring
time.
we'll bring a staff probably of 4 at the board level, and then we usually have 2 staff at each, that does the Red Book testing at the schools.
All right, thank you very much.
I have a follow-up question on the school activity funds after reviewing this again.
Yes.
At the high school, it seems like there were several instances that you all found. When did you actually perform the testing?
So the testing this year, normally we come in after July 25th. We did some pre-testing before June 30, and then some after, because the financials have to be closed by July the 25th. And then, of course, the bookkeepers were off during the summer. So we tried to coordinate that. I don't remember the specific dates, but it was either in late June and then late July, after the books have been closed, because July 25th, all the information has to be submitted to KDE as far as the financials are concerned.
Is there several?
Remember
It was
specific?
like the second week of June when they came to all of our schools and actually tested at that point that they've done cash
Yeah.
disbursements with checks and deposits, and then you all come back.
Yeah. So all the financials are usually since school is out, there's really very few checks written in the month of June. So we did our testing up through June, the second week of June, then we came back in September and tested the remaining 2 months or 2 weeks.
Okay. I mean, just a summary here, it looks like, you know, there's some checks and balances not being followed on cash.
Correct.
On cash that should be deposited, including some concessions and I guess some other instances within the school. So I'm a little concerned that if this was done after our incident that we had at the school, that I don't want to say nothing has been taken care of,
Yeah.
but it seems like we still need, or the school still needs to tighten up their procedures on cash.
That's a good question. So our testing was done from all transactions from July 1 of 2018 through June of 30.
Okay.
So these things we're finding would have been in place when the incident took place. So some of the things that we're reporting here would have been in that time period.
Okay.
Now, since then, of course, there's been some changes.
Yeah.
And, of course, I think these have been addressed. There's a response to each one of these comments where I think that the action that's going to be taking place to resolve these issues.
Okay. Thank you for clearing that up.
Other questions, comments? Alicia, anything you want to add or whatever?
I just appreciate all of my financial staff.
No issues on the district level?
No
Very good.
issues on the
Very
district
good.
level.
Yeah, I forgot to thank, I said we bring a staff, about 4 people. When we're in here, Mr. Christie's people and Alicia's people, or staff and offices, do a great job in getting us the information. There's a lot of transactions that flow through at the board level. And when you have 4 auditors walking around and aggravating everybody trying to get information, and they have to continue to do their job, they were very cooperative, and we really appreciate their assistance. It really helped when you have a district that helps the auditors. It makes it more efficient to go through. We have some that don't help us as much, and it takes longer to get their audits done. But anyway, you all have a good crew here.
They didn't find the jar, but
Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you, Alicia. It says just to acknowledge, we don't have to accept, we're just acknowledging that this has been over, everybody nodded head, we've acknowledged and looked at this. Okay. Just make note of that in the minutes also. All right, item number 5, consider approval of updated student fees for the 2019-2020 school year. Mr. Christie?
So there were several, and I may have to turn to Alicia on this, there were some additions, some requests to change or to add some additional fees. I think most of these are where there are materials or students are getting something out of it they keep. The music class, that one is a $10 one. That's because they get the recorders that they play. They keep those, we have to purchase those, and they keep those. All the others are, you see there, are for clubs, primarily clubs, that it's for T-shirts, badges, things that's given to them, that we purchase, it's given to them. There's none in here where they don't receive something for it.
Mr. Chris, is this something that blows up just from the principal, or do the site-based councils have any?
Site-based
any
councils goes
comments
through
on
the
this?
site-based councils. It goes to the principals, and these should go through the site-based councils before they.
Okay, so they've already
looked
seen
at
it.
these before it comes here as a request. It's been approved by the, or requested by the councils.
Thank you, sir.
I guess, just trying to see what constitutes a fee or buying a product, or I guess, if you join the club, you have to buy a T-shirt, is that what we're,
That is optional. Is an
so
option.
then you wouldn't pay the fee, or what, I mean,
So, Red Book
I'm a little
classifies
confused.
anytime you charge for anything, it's either under the realm of a fee or a fundraiser. Well, T-shirts aren't technically a fundraiser, they're buying the cost of the T-shirt. So just to stay compliant with the code, we found out a lot of clubs are getting T-shirts for their club. Every club wants a
Right.
T-shirt, but they're just charging that cost to the kid to get that shirt. The kids don't have to get one if they don't want to, it's an optional, but it needs to be listed and approved that you all said it was okay to charge that. Otherwise, we're out of compliance with the RICA. Because that's
how
not
do we
truly
go
a
about like the
fundraiser.
school store or anything at all like that? What's your difference of, I mean?
This is charging the kids, that is an activity in itself that the, I mean, it's part of this.
I don't
Good
know,
question.
I'm just a little
Red Book
confused.
is a
I just always
circle.
felt that like a fee was just for an intangible, like, you know, you were there for your club and, you know, you did different things with your clubs or whatever. This almost seems like that
It's
you
not what
have
we're being
to,
told by-
I mean, I don't know, I'm just saying, I'm just trying to figure out what you're saying. If I join this club, I have to buy a T-shirt, so I have to pay $10 to be in this club. Or can I be in this club without paying a fee and don't want a T-shirt? I don't want kids to be binded by what that is. And I understand if you get a product of paying for it. I'm just wondering if you wanted to be in the club and you didn't want the T-shirt is,
I'm told they are optional.
okay. Okay.
And then some of the other costs, when you see are the organizations, those are the national dues. that we-
Well, I understand, I mean, that's an intangible thing, that's something that they're not really, they're getting a service, I guess, but they're not getting a product. I just didn't want, you know, come join my club, cost you $10, I'm gonna give you a T-shirt. If you don't wanna buy a T-shirt, you can't be in my club, that's what I wanna make sure of.
I'm told that is not approved.
Okay. Other questions, board member questions, or?
So the students in the ATC to take pharmacy online certification exams cost $414. Are we doing anything for participants that may not be able to come up with $414? I mean, that's a lot of money for, it's just a lot of money.
You got that
No matter
one?
what you do.
Yeah, just, you know, for kids that maybe want to go in that profession. Maybe no one here might have that question.
I've not, that's come to me that the student not been able to afford that. I know there are some things in place that assist students if they can't. I can't answer to this one if there's been a need to do that in this particular case or not.
I know we have, you know, an item that goes into the high school budget that covers
Yeah.
tested, you know, fees, but I'm not sure if that covers AT, is this an ATC?
It's an ATC. It's an
A lot of
ATC.
times, man, I don't know, that would, not sure what the,
And of the three of those, I'm not aware, and I am aware of some where there was some assistance given to students. I'm not aware of anyone who was not able to take the test because of that. I am aware of some that has taken the test that we have assisted.
Because, you know, a lot of these are extracurricular
Yeah.
activities, and I understand those fees, but this is actually for, you know, job readiness.
Yeah, those are some soft, yeah, those are
Yeah.
some, some certifications is what those.
would you look into that, Mr. Christie,
will.
and maybe the next time, kind of give us a board update on
Okay.
if there has been problems with fees or people not taking classes because of the fees, because I think we tried to address that
Yes.
several years ago, that we didn't want that to happen, that people did not pursue something because they had to pay a fee, so, if you would look at that and let each board member know. Other questions or comments? If If none, I will accept the motion.
I'll make the motion to approve the updated CIPs for 2019-2020 school year.
Okay, got a motion by Mr. Talby,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Richardson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, item number 6, consider approval to reserve balance for sick leave payable. I'm assuming Alicia, since you still have.
Yes. So this is something that we actually do every year with the audit and the year end is we pull a list of our employees that we currently have at the June 30 date. And what, if they retired, you have to declare what that liability would be. The board pays 30% of anyone's sick leave who retires. And so we take that liability amount and basically you see that on our balance sheet. If you look in the packet tonight, you'll see that on Fund 1, there's a sick leave reserve account. And like I said, it's been done every year, but just to kind of make a clean, transparent thing, being that it's a reserve balance, technically the board should declare that it was approved for that to occur. And so in the past, that's just kind of been taken as when you approve the balance sheet and you approve the audit at the year end and all those financials, that it's just approved within that. But it's been suggested just for transparency purposes that we pull that out every year and specifically state what that new liability is going to be every year as that reserve balance. Just, so that's what this item is for. It's just for transparency reasons of you are taking a portion of your money, of your fund, and reserving it specifically for sick leave. And that number will fluctuate every year when we close the year. All year it will be that same amount. We only adjust it at year end.
Board member questions, comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Please.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Ms. Richardson,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Talby. All those in favor say aye. Item number 7, consider approval of 2019-2020 District Facility Planning Committee as presented. Mr. Christie.
Recommendation to approve the committee. You have a list of the committee members. There's a very strict formula for seating these folks on the committee. We have already vetted this with KDE, and it upon your approval, it'll be submitted to them as our 2019-2020 LTC.
Board member comments or questions?
This committee is it a 4-year, or how long, how long is this
It's a
committee?
4-year.
It's a 4-year term?
Yes.
We'll have another plan that'll be due in 4 years. And at that time, you'll see the new committee when you start the next plan. And for the term in between now and then, if after this committee meets, if there's any meetings that come up in the next 4 years, this committee would be reconvened. And if any members were no longer present in their district or didn't qualify, then we would reseat someone in those positions. Everybody here, it's been verified, everyone on here is a resident of Clark County. That's one of the requirements to hold any seats. And there's equal representation from all the schools, from the staff, from the principals, from the parents and the teachers is equal. No one school has more than a one-person seat over any of the others.
I don't know if it matters, but my name's spelled wrong on this.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I just want to say thanks to everybody that's on here, been there, done that. So I know the process that goes through, it is a very important process because it does set a lot of what we're going to do in the district. Special thanks to parents and community members for donating their time to be able to do this. Any other board member? Questions, comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve this list.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Heisel.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Richardson. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Now this goes on to KDE from
Yes,
here, where it
yes.
goes from right here.
It'll go out to them tomorrow.
Okay.
and to our facilitator, and we will begin to work to schedule the first meeting,
Okay.
probably by the first part of December.
Okay. Item number 8, consider approval to increase contractual agreement with Innovative Demolition Services for hazardous material removal during the demolition of the Aero Coatings Building in the amount of $1,900. Mr. Christie.
Recommendation to increase it by $1,900. If you recall, when we discussed the contract for the demolition, that was if they ran into any asbestos anywhere in the building, that we would be subject to increase the contract. They did. We knew there was a minimal amount. $1,900 is minimal amount of asbestos in a building of that size. It was some asbestos wrap on some piping in some of the restroom areas, and that's all we really had anticipated going into it, and that's all they found.
Board member questions, comments? If none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Talby. I'll second it. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. Motion passes. Item number 9, consider approval of pay application number 23 to Codell Construction Contractors and Suppliers for the GRC Gymnasium Athletic Fields Project, BG 16-238, in the amount of $1,152,611.15. Mr. Christie.
Recommendation to approve pay application number 23 for the amount requested for work completed.
Board member questions, comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Ms. Richardson,
Second.
second by Ms. Ritchie. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item number 10, consider approval of pay application number 9 to Codell Construction Contractors and Suppliers for GRC Fieldhouse Athletic Fields Project, BG 18-334, in the amount of $421,032.90. Mr. Christie.
Recommendation to approve pay application number 9 for the field house construction for work completed in the amount requested.
Board member questions, comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Heisler.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Talby. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item number 11, consider approval of pay application number 1514-35, Ross Tarrant Architects for the GRC Gymnasium Athletics Fields Project, BG 16-238, in the amount of $4,755.11. Mr. Christie.
Recommendation for approval of pay application to Ross Tarrant for the amount requested for work completed.
Board member questions, comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Talby. Have a second.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Richardson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item number 12, consider approval of pay application number 1829-14 to Ross Tarrant Architects for the GRC Fieldhouse Athletics Project, BG 18-334, in the amount of $4,567.11. Mr. Christie.
Recommendation to pay application to Ross Tarrant for the amount requested for work completed on the field house project.
Board member questions, comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Heisel. I'll second it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item number 13, consider approval of change order 4-7 with Structural Steel Services Incorporated for the GRC Gymnasium Athletics Fields Project, BG 16-238, an amount of $17,650. Mr. Christie.
Recommendation to approve change order number 47 for the amount as requested on the gymnasium project.
It's my understanding that this is an ADA issue. What is, do we have a reason why it wasn't caught or wasn't in the design? Do we know that? I mean,
Yeah, I'll kind of share that this is a structural steel tube that goes around the perimeter of the mezzanine. And when we have the final location of the bleachers, is where we're putting in this notch from an ADA so it's flush. You can't have people trying to step over, have a trip hazard. And so it's almost impossible to try to have that design to the point where you know exactly to the inch where that's going to be. in order to be able to have that shop fabricated, so it ends up being field cut. And so that's what we're doing, and it's also in coordination with the actual gates and the mezzanine guardrail that's going around the perimeter. So it's all kind of coming together as a part of that process of getting those gates located. Now that the bleachers are actually going in, we can confidently make those revisions.
There's 8 locations where this cut will have to be made.
Are there additional architect fees in this, or was that already included in the regular price and this is just to construct this, or what's included in this 17,000, I guess?
That's the actual change order itself for the contractor structural services.
Okay.
If there's your changes in the architectural fees for that change order. So
I must have missed that before.
architects at 95310.
Other board member questions or comments?
So it says this is for, the opening goes from mezzanine to the lower level bleachers. So is this a new, is this a new access or is this existing access that we're now putting tubing around?
It's the structural tube that was installed as part of the actual mezzanine, floor. Perimeter requirement where the actual guardrail gets welded, and then making that cut where the bleachers aisle comes up. And from a code perspective, we actually have people egressing the mezzanine down through the bleachers on the floor to get to the exit doors. We also have stairs that people can exit, but actually
I don't have the
code
phone right
requires
to
people to be able
pictures.
to exit from the mezzanine down through the bleachers.
So if you're up on the second floor, you can access the lower, you can walk down to the court through these gate openings.
Can I show it in this picture you sent me today, make sure I understand it correctly? Is it that's the tube we're talking about right there, and it goes around the whole perimeter?
All the way around.
And so then what you've got to do is, once you finally know, is that
There's a close-up picture of it there
yeah,
also.
once you finally know where everything's going to be, you field cut that. And that provision for field cutting, I guess one would think, why wasn't that in the contract? You knew you were going to have to field cut it, or did you not know whether you would have to or not?
Well, honestly, we weren't sure when we got into it because we were not sure what, everything from the thickness of the concrete and where the deck would be, the tolerances are somehow difficult. And if we tried to say field cut, trying to make it a field cut of 1 inch or 2 inches, it all have to be coordinated with actually the surface, the rubber surface we're putting on the mezzanine out there in front of the bleachers. We've got floor cushion that's going in, so we're coordinating all that, so it's a flush transition from the mezzanine onto the bleacher. There was also a small possibility, depending on what bleacher manufacturer we got, that their bleacher actually would have been higher and would have terminated in line with it, and we would have to feather it up and almost had a transition coming from the mezzanine floor up to the top of the rail, top of the tube.
Are we far along for you to be able to determine if there's going to be any more code requirements that's going to have to come to the board to approve? Are we far along that you can determine that?
I can't say equivocally that we would not have another one. In fact, we have one here a little bit later about getting the hose bid and the restaurant and everything. So
Yeah. Speaking of that, what date are we looking at now for the agenda?
Segued that right.
Yeah, I was giving everyone ample time to ask, so no one did.
You're supposed to ask that before you approve the
Still
pay.
going full speed ahead. I mean, the cable rail that we've been talking about, and
Yeah.
I think y'all saw the email, the latest delivery date we've got, which you've been texting me tonight, is the end of January right now. So they're trying to somehow fabricate some of that material themselves to
That's
speed
what
up
you're
that
working on,
process.
yeah.
That's what we're looking at.
That's if they do all the application.
Yeah.
But we can do it.
Is that the last thing that has to be, that will be put
It'll
in?
be getting close, that's, will be one of the last things. The other major components should be completed by that time.
Other questions, comments on item 13? We're at, right? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Ms. Richardson. Have a second. I'll second the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item number 14, consider approval of change order 4-8. Did I miss it? No, no opposition on the last one. No. I'm sorry, I wasn't clear. Item 14, consider approval of change order 4-8 structural steel services for the GRC Gymnasium Athletic Fields Project BG 16-238 in the amount of $12,318. Mr. Christie.
Recommendation to approve change order 4-8, the amount requested in the gymnasium.
And this is the
Flat stock that covers
it's the hole that's there that we're trying to cover, yeah.
it's a,
Yeah.
Is that this?
Yes.
That, I don't know, 24-inch tall beam that has light insulation on it?
that's fireproofing, that exposed, and this plate will cover that. I'm sorry.
Board member questions and comments?
So I guess it begs the question again, why, was this something that was a change? Why was this not in the original contract?
Well, we actually went through quite a few variances and were successful in getting the County Building and Construction to waive some of the fireproofing on different structural members in the facility, but they, in the end, came back and said that we did have to fireproof the mezzanine because of the occupant load, and so we provided that fireproofing within the bid. Steel plate, you know, again, is a situation where we were hopeful that the bleachers themselves, because KD required us to have 3 different bleacher manufacturers. All the different bleacher manufacturers have different heights from the tread, you know, and riser. And so we were still having to coordinate what was going to happen with covering that up and everything. So we didn't have it in the base bid when it might not have been necessary if we could have had the bleachers come high enough to cover it. If that helps.
If you recall, that fireproofing got added literally like 4 days before we did the job. It was last minute change.
Other questions, comments? Not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Talby,
I'll second it.
second by Mr. Heisel. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item 15, consider approval of change order 17-8 with Green Mechanical for the GRC Gymnasium Athletics Fields Project BG 16-238 in the amount of $1,852.33. Mr. Christie.
Recommendation to approve change order 17-8 for the high school gym, the amount requested. This is the hose bibs that he referred to as another code in restroom area.
Questions?
Yeah, what's a hose bib?
And I want to volunteer, I think this is something that our mechanical engineer probably should have called. A hose bib is just a faucet that is like your outside hose spigot or something like that you can hook a hose to. And so the health department likes to have one of those in a restroom in order to be able to hook a hose to it if you need to like clean down the floor, like hose out the floor, like if major dirt, by accident, somebody gets sick, throws up, and you're trying to clean a restroom quickly, you could take a hose from the custodial closet, hook that up, and flush that to the floor drains. And so, yes, that's a code requirement to have that. And then the hammer arresters are just where you have air in your pipes, and this helps keep your pipes from banging. And we're adding one as a code requirement just to the number of fixtures that we ended up with.
So how did we get away with not putting any hose bibs down at the football field anywhere?
We have hose bibs in the restrooms, in the concession. You won't even see them, they'll kind of be in the handicap stall, usually kind of out of the way. They don't have a handle on it, it takes a key.
Takes a key.
It's inside the wall.
Yeah.
So we just missed it on this
Yeah.
when we were doing the
Engineers
plan?
kind of missed it, it
Okay.
would have been a part of the bid at the time, and so we've kind of worked with the contractor to make, I mean, it's just pretty much a known unit price to add that.
It's not all the restrooms, it was
No.
just two. Okay.
Correct, it wasn't all.
Other questions, comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Talley,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Richardson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 16, consider approval of change order 19-23 with Rising Sun Development for the GRC Gymnasium Athletics Fields Project VG 16-238 in the amount of $6,581.55.
Recommendation to approve change order 1923 in the amount requested. That's the sidewalk at the stadium for the band.
Hasn't that already been done?
Well, that's the one I pre-approved in
Okay.
order to get it done for the competition.
So this is already done
It's
now?
this piece, this one is completed now.
I thought so, okay.
Yeah. But it's that sidewalk.
That way the band could roll their instruments.
Everything in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Questions, comments?
And it was one I went ahead and approved per your all's permission to do that, and we needed it for the competition to get it in quickly.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll
like-
make, oh, do you have? Go right ahead.
No, ladies first.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Ms. Richardson, second Mr. Heisler.
Yep.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 17, consider approval of change order 19-24 with Rising Sun Development for the GRC Gymnasium Athletics Field Project VG 16238 in the amount of $8,436.98. Mr. Christie.
Recommendation to approve change order 1924 for the amount requested. This is 2 doors, and I didn't get a chance, Mr. Talley, to get back with you this afternoon in the second email. These are after the request was made by coaches and the athletic and the administration at the high school. After looking at it, it's 2 doors that provides an entrance to the coaches' offices, both girls and boys' coaches' offices, from the hallway, so that they don't have to go into the dressing room area to get into their office.
In the gym.
In the gym, and this is just in the gym. That includes making the cutouts in the wall that was already there. It's the install the new doors, the frames, all the hardware and everything goes with it.
Board member questions, comments?
Is this something that it's a necessity, have to have?
Well, in where we are now, when you have male coaches coaching female teams, it's not a necessity, but it is something that could, it gives everybody a different level of comfort when people can enter and exit the coach's office without having to go into the dressing room areas.
What are we doing now?
It's outside. It's outside of there now. The office isn't inside the present locker rooms.
If you'll notice right now, if you're at the old high school gym in basketball, those coaches stand on the outside for a long time before halftime, before they go in. Somebody comes in and tells them this way they can at least go into their offices and do any work or whatever they got there or whatever, and then somebody can let them know, just so you don't have any uncomfortable situations for anyone.
I can see that for the girls. Same for the boys? That's...
Well, I don't, I would.
We also, we also use those locker rooms for other teams when they come in, but yeah, I would say yes for the boys too.
I'm just kidding, because I thought at one time you and I discussed this and you were not in favor of
Well,
this.
I wasn't at first until I talked with the coaches and talked with both coaches and the athletic director and the principal, and I've even spoken with a couple of board members. We've talked about it, thought at this point, if you're going to do it, this is the time to do it, because you'll never be able to do it this cheap again. This is,
What about the visitor locker rooms?
they don't have offices. They don't have offices in there for the coaches. And we have to deal with that when we go away to places. But this is every day at practice, and, this is kind of an everyday occurrence when you're talking about the locker rooms right now.
Are you going to keep the other door? The
Yes.
interior door?
It's an interior door that can be locked off.
Goes into the locker room.
It
Well,
goes
just
into
goes to the locker room. This
and
way the
there's
coach
no-
doesn't have to go in the locker room to get into his office.
But the other door is already there, and still is already there and won't be removed. So there would be a door that you could come in from the dressing room side in, but there's no windows, there's no nothing in that door.
Well, can it, let's say, I'm an athlete there in the locker room, and I want to make sure I've got privacy in there and that the coach doesn't come in. How are we addressing that issue?
Well,
I would tell you just from what I know, it's always going to be a signal somewhere. Most time coaches have female staff. They have
Yes,
female
that's one
staff.
thing.
Here, they would come back and let the coach know. I just think for girls, I think it's a good thing because I think it just avoids any kind of uncomfortable type situations. There's a lot of stuff, watching films or whatever coaches may do during practice or whatever else, just gives them an opportunity to be away and not have to worry about any of those situations that are in there. And I'm like Mr. Christie too. I think when you look at the price you're going to pay right now, it's going to be much less than you ever have to come back. So,
I'm just not convinced. I mean, that's a lot of money for 2 doors. And it's a convenience. To me, it's a convenience. I mean, more than anything, for the coaches.
Can you not take that existing door and just kind of move it and doesn't work that well?
Is
But
the
you
walls
wouldn't-
already there?
Yeah, the walls, it's solid grouted block walls, and it's saw cutting out the walls, new frames, and it's, cost of the doors and the frame is like, it's the cost of cutting those walls and all that is the major.
And the other door's already in, so it's already, the frame's already in that other wall. So you'd have to fill it in, it'd be more expensive to fill that in if you were trying to.
Why did this just come about now then?
well, it's been a discussion, it's been one of those, it's kind of like some of the other things, been ongoing for some time, and it just got to a point to where we had to make a decision.
It's kind of a change of the world we live in,
Yeah.
Ms. Ritchie. I mean, we program, we try to go through that when we were talking about the layout of everything and trying to cover all the bases. But you get into even for the boys, for the men's, if you will, you might have even a female visitor to the coach, and you wouldn't want them having to go through the locker room if they were wanting, it could be a reporter, it could be, a mother, it could be, and so those people coming to visit, we're actually taking a look at this, is this something, KD does not have that as a requirement, obviously. And you want to have, or we always have considered the fact that the coaches need to be able to monitor what's happening in the locker room. And so the door into the locker room is to have that ability, for the coach to intercede and have access to the players without going around them through the hall to get there.
Right.
a lot of times you do
understand that,
have female managers, stats people as well that need access to the office as well. I just think, we're putting in a first-class facility. We ought to cover every base that we can. I think we did the same thing when we looked at our other facilities, and I don't think anybody's asking for anything exorbitant. I think people are just asking for things that make sure that people are comfortable when they're in there. Again, I don't think the cost is really all that great compared to what the negatives could be if, something happens somewhere down the line. But that's my take on it.
I think realistically, the doors are needed. I hate to spend the money, as y'all, of course, know. But I think we probably ought to.
Other questions, comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Heisel,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Richardson. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Abstain.
We have motion passes extra 5-0 for Mr. Tallby abstains. Item number 18, consider approval of change order 2-3 for Rising Sun Developing the GRC Fieldhouse Athletic Project BG 18-334 in the amount of $25,400. This looks like a change.
Recommend for the approval of the change order. This is just for the bottoms of the, I think of the downspouts. The
Just doing a
company,
change
you're
of
just doing a
companies.
switch from companies. So the company for the 25,400 could not supply the ones that matched the existing building, so it's just changing over. One of them is credit, and we probably had them reversed. We should have done credit first, probably.
Made you feel better.
Yeah.
We've been ahead for a while. Any questions or comments? Not entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Tolby, do I have a second?
Oh,
Mr. Heisel?
Ms. Ritchie.
Ms. Ritchie, okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 19, consider approving change order 271 with J.R. Ho and Sons for GRC Field House Project BG 18334 for a credit in the amount of $25,400. Any board member comments or, Mr. Heisel, would you like to go ahead?
Oh, I'd like to jump at this. I should wait for you to finish. I'd like to make a motion for that credit.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Richardson.
We
All
got
those in favor
screwed.
say aye.
Before we leave this, could we just circle back around the timing and, you know, if it's, could I, do you mind if I ask
Sure,
a
go ahead, jump right
question?
in.
So if there's something you all think is really critical and you can't get it done through normal means, you know, I certainly would encourage you all to think out of the box and say, golly gee, this contractor can't get it done. I mean, it'd be bad if we had the whole thing get held up, you know, because you all felt constrained on it, you know, just for one piece that we were sitting around waiting on that, because there's, you know, there's machine shops here in town and central Kentucky, and I guess I just wanted to make sure the dialogue was there, just from my standpoint. I obviously can't speak with everybody else, but if it's just one thing that's there, and you know that it's coming, maybe we need to develop a plan B, because I'd hate to have this cascade into, it's not done, so now we can't, you know, do certain things in March, shall we say, because of it. So, I'm just encouraging you all to make sure you continue to think about it.
Cable rail thing is a biggie, that's the big one.
That's what I'm talking about.
There's a proposal coming out today for some steps upstairs on the second level, we're getting pricing on that. Other than those two items, those are really the last big ticket obstacles.
The floor thing all fit together with the windows and that constraint you were battling the last meeting?
So all the windows are in, with the exception of in the back connector corridor now. We're laying brick and stone back there right now, so as soon as that's completed, those windows will go in. Gym floors delivering tomorrow, terrazzo starting tomorrow. So, you know, the next 30 days are gonna see a lot of action in there. A lot of the major work's gonna be getting completed, and then we'll be done with floor tile and painting primarily, so. Site work's getting completed, sidewalk should be finished the next 2 weeks. So, it's.
Just don't let this one item hold the whole thing up, but maybe we can work together as a community to figure out how to do it.
It's been literally over a year working on this one item, so we're well aware.
Good comments.
Thank you, Mr. Perry.
Consent items, I know you have one item you wanted to pull out and discuss, correct?
Yes, sir.
You didn't want to look at it, do it separately, you just have
No,
some
no, I
questions
just-
about it, okay? Mr. Christie said he would like to bring something up about item number 20. Anything else that anybody else wants to pull out this time? We're not going to do them separately, we're just going to make some comments on them, we can approve them all, unless something comes up. Mr.
Got a
Christie?
couple things. I noticed when I did my updates today, and in education, we're the world's worst at acronyms. And I sometimes have to go back and think about what the acronyms are for, so I know how confusing it can be for you all. So I have a document for you that's all the acronyms that we use in education. It's got in there, and it tells what each of them are. I just thought I'd run you a copy of that for your convenience in case you run across something and can't get a hold of me or someone here to ask. There's a lot of them.
There'll be a
I won't
test
guarantee
next
that that's
week.
all of them. That's a lot of the ones that we use on a daily. The other thing is, I'm passing around a schedule to you. It's a schedule of all of the staff meetings at every school, what day and what time they meet. And I certainly invite you and would encourage any of you or all of you that you want to attend any of these staff meetings at the schools. I talked about this with the principal, so I gave you a schedule of every staff meeting that's occurring that we just have set for the month of November and December. You won't see anything past December. Those haven't been scheduled yet for January and February, but I'll get you the copy of that schedule when that is made. And then the other thing you saw in the updates, I want to look at those dates for the Thanksgiving lunches. I would encourage you to get to one of the schools or two or three of the schools and have lunch. They do a fantastic job. Our food services people do a fantastic job preparing a Thanksgiving meal for our kids. So you've got the schedule there where it is at each school and the day that lunch is being served there. So I would encourage you and invite you to attend one of those places and have lunch with the kids one day.
Breakfast
It's pretty good
FFA
food.
is that
too. Yeah,
Friday,
and the next one under that, yeah, that is on November the 22nd at 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock. You all are invited, and that's in here to the ag department, their holiday breakfast that they do. They put on, I don't know if it'll be as good as Mr. Tolby's gravy or not, but they have biscuits and gravy out there too, so. And you'll see some other things, there's just some things in the schools that you're certainly invited to attend. That's all I had, thank you.
And what item did you have, Mr. Heisel, was?
It's number 30, no, maybe it's not. It's under the paid warrant report. Let's see, that is item, I guess it's item number 39. Within that, there's a payment to Mancy Metal for $29,596, and Mrs. Ellis was kind enough, as you know, we go through the packet exchange email to explain that this is a building that has been built behind the maintenance facility. And it just seemed odd that a building of this size, and it's pretty substantial, I would just buy there tonight before I came over, is we would list it under other equipment as opposed to calling it, you know, a real asset like a, you know, building classification or something like that. I was just confused how all that worked, because it's, you know, it's maybe a 2,000 square foot building.
It's a salt storage, it's where we store the salt. The old shed up here, it got to a point where it's difficult, and it's further away from our equipment and everything, so they did this metal out there. They had the slab there, and they put the metal building on top, and that's where the salt's stored. So it's a kind of a three-sided, and then they'll probably will put a garage door or something in the front to keep weather from getting in the front side of it. But, it could be a capital, you could use your capital outlay for that. However, we've already requested that the amount of capital outlay that we could request, and we've reimbursed the general fund with that for expenses that we took and claimed as capital outlay, so we don't have anything else to claim as capital outlay for this year.
I just didn't know if it was something Mr. Sparks would next year say, well, why y'all do it that way?
I don't think so, but we'll look into it some more, but I don't think so, but
Because of the amount of money, it will be a capitalized asset, but it's not labeled as the object code building because it's not a permanent fixture according to that definition.
hopefully
Holes
it's
in the ground with
a
metal.
long time. I don't know if you can call any of them
It'll be there a long
permanent.
time, but the definition is a altering of the property permanent fixture. And so that's,
Basically, we didn't have to hire an architect to put it up.
No, we didn't, and you're gonna keep on, so we have to hire
I
one
think
to come
that's-
check
yes,
it.
I mean.
I think that's what a permanent building comes into,
Yeah.
right there, I
The
believe.
definition of using that code on our chart of accounts.
But if it's something we need to
I will-
approve to move some money from the other to accomplish it, you know, it's already done, so that's the only question about it.
The maintenance use their budget, so
Yeah.
there's nothing for you to approve and move money because they use leftover funds from their.
They requested a carryover, part of carryover from last year, and some of the funding from this year to pay for it.
Anything else anybody needs pulled out? If not, I'll ask for approval of items 20 through 38.
Make a motion to approve items 20.
Motion by Mr. Torrey, second by Ms. Ritchie. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Item number 39, authorized payment of salaries and accounts payable.
I'd like to make a motion to pay salaries and accounts payable.
Mr. Heisel, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Richardson. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Item number 40, adjourn to closed session. Do we have a motion to go into closed session?
Make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Tarby is written. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Heisel. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We'll take a 10-minute break. Board members.
Yeah, I'm kind of going blank. I thought I saw something.